All right, welcome to Goldboys College Football Preview. I'm Will Hill here with Brad Thomas. Crusty K is going to break down all four major conferences. Boys, what's going on? Football is here, week 0. I guess we'll start with the SEC. Crusty, I'll start with you. Is there a team you like? Obviously, it's Georgia and everybody else, but is there a team you like that you think can challenge Georgia?
It's got to be Ole Miss for me. I mean, as much as I back them every year and Lane Kiffin lets me down, I don't see any other way to go. I think that they're a 10-win team. We all know that. It's just, can they win the big game?
Dude, I cannot believe the college football season is here. It felt like the longest college football offseason of my life. Nick Saban announces retirement. There's uncertainty at the coaching position. So, for me as a Bama guy, I just needed it to start, just games to get going, just so I could take my mind off the uncertainty.
Man, I always find myself wanting to back Ole Miss, and I always find myself just being sad at the end of the season. I mean, we know they're going to get 10 wins, and we know they're going to find a way to get to the big game, but I don't necessarily think they win the big game. I mean, I think for me at this point, it's just Georgia or bust. I mean, they continue to just, constantly, retool, and they never seem to skip a beat. So, unfortunately, it's not exciting, but I do think it's Georgia or bust here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we look at like strengths of schedules and things like that to kind of start our metrics of how well they'll do this season. And for once, it's like Georgia up in the top 10 in strength of schedule in the SEC. Alabama, another team who is in like the top 15 in strength of schedule, where you have like an Ole Miss who's down below. Then you have a Texas who's down below. It's all about getting to the title game for kind of all these teams in the rat race, where you have Texas's schedule outside of that home game where they play against Georgia. It's not difficult at all, right? Like, obviously they have the rivalry against Oklahoma, and then they have the early Michigan. I think it's week 2 where they play Michigan, which, mind you, I did lose in my road to glory as the Michigan quarterback. So if that means anything in betting, we should put that in there. Texas did lose top 2 running backs, which is going to be interesting, but they just reloaded, right? They reloaded in the wide receiver core, probably one of the most stacked transfer acquisition as one collective group. Track speed all over the place. Quinn Ewers another year. Defensively, they'll be stout again. But for me, it's still Georgia. Georgia is the class. I think I said something along these lines in one of my columns. It's expectations versus execution. There's always expectations of all of these other teams year in and year out. This year, Texas, Ole Miss. But the execution year in and year out is Georgia. Yes, Georgia had the down year, if you want to call it that, last season. But they have Carson Beck coming back for another year. Carson Beck, who played really good in his first year starting. I really like Georgia this year. And I do want to say this. I think that Texas are going to have that, how do we put it? Because I hate sounding cliche, but it's going to be a grind once they get to about September, end of September, where they're starting to play a full SEC schedule. I don't care what you say. It's a big difference than squeaking out games in the Big 12. I'll buy Alabama. A lot has been said about the transfers that went out. A few of those guys were not even starters on that team, weren't getting good amount of playing time. But, obviously, like when you lose like Benson doesn't play. You lose your backup running back who probably would have been third string, and Roydell Williams. You lose a couple guys in the secondary who, they were supposed to start this season coming up. And then DeBoer. We talk about DeBoer at Washington, but he's been a winner everywhere he's been. And I think Alabama has the most security at quarterback out of all those teams. To be a sleeper, to win, I think it's going to be about security. And we'll plug in one more little tidbit of information about Kalen DeBoer's offenses. Kalen DeBoer is one of the leaders in his offenses in yards per air attempt, which means they're throwing the ball deep, something that Alabama kind of lacked, which means it was easier to stop them in the run game, and then it put a lot of pressure on Jalen Milroe. I do like Tennessee, but with a freshman quarterback coming in there, first-year starter, it's going to be tough. Their schedule is okay, but they play at Georgia and at North Carolina State, 2 tough games early in the season. Then whenever you have to play Alabama on your schedule, vice versa in Alabama, Tennessee, it's always a tough game, at least over these last 3 years.
It's boring, but I'm going with Bama too. I'm big on Milroe. I liked him last year. I think he's having a monster year this year. Actually snuck in a little Milroe Heisman future because I really expect Yeah, I really expect a huge season out of him here. I mean, looking at their schedule, I mean, obviously, we talk about all the time going on the road in the SEC, especially, Death Valley, they got to play at Tennessee. Those are two tough games, but in my opinion, two very winnable games. Outside of the game against Georgia, which even that, I mean, Alabama plays Georgia well. So is a one-loss season out of the question? I don't think so.
I have one here that I could give out. What is your favorite SEC bet that's currently available?
Alabama to make the playoffs at even money. And before anybody goes and says I have the Alabama thing in my background, the helmet and the jersey, I do not bet with my heart. But it would just be really hard for me to see Alabama losing 4 games, right? Like Crusty said, their schedule is tough in terms of the amount of ranked opponents they play, but they get some favorable matchups at home. They do have to play, like you said, Death Valley and in Knoxville. But I think if they can go 1-1 in those games and maybe upset Georgia or lose to Georgia, they have a little room. 3-loss Alabama, as long as it's to a non-unranked team, will be in the playoffs. That's even money. I thought it was pretty solid.
How about you, Crusty? Anything SEC related that you like?
The only thing I grabbed and I put it in a parlay was a Ole Miss to make the playoff. I don't see them not making it.
That's a good one. I'm really high on Ole Miss this year too.
Me too. I think they get their 10 wins. I never quite trust them, but the schedule is conducive to some early success. If they just take care of business against teams they're supposed to, They should probably get to 10. The offense is good. Defense should be a little better. I'm going to go LSU under 9 wins. 9.5 you can find juice. Under 9, I just think they're going to take such a step back on offense. When you lose Daniels, you lose 2 top 20 receivers in the draft. Maybe they'll be better on defense. I mean, hell, it would be hard to be worse. But if you're going to take like 3 or 4 steps backwards on offense and you're only going to take like 1 step forward on defense, I don't think that's going to be pretty. The schedule's not that easy. To me, that's like an 8-4, 9 at best. And I just think 8 is much more likely than 10. You guys agree or disagree with that one?
I'm going to go with I agree. And I'm going to use 2 points. One that I kind of thought of here is LSU didn't cover their win total last year with a Heisman trophy winning quarterback. And now this year they go from, if you watch Jaden Daniel play, and kind of the knock on him was he invited too much pressure, right? That offensive line really good. But that pressure would come to his face and he would have to scramble or he would have to kind of like make plays happen. Nussmeier is going to be a statue in that pocket. If his clock is not fast enough, he will see a lot of pressure in his face. They're going to have a good offensive line, but it's a difference between saying having a good offensive line or are your receivers getting open or are their routes too extended, which kind of leads to that extra pressure in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, you talk about Jaden Daniels, his ability to extend the plays. I mean, you're losing all of that. So it's really hard to see, all those broken plays that went for, 60-yard touchdowns, 70-yard touchdowns. You don't have that anymore. So I think that's going to be a big difference with their offense, and I think they're going to struggle to score at times. I really do.
All right, final predictions. Georgia versus who in the SEC title game?
I'm going with Georgia versus Texas. It's so chalky. I hate it.
I actually was going to say the same thing. So I want to be different, but yeah, Georgia versus Texas.
Tempted to take A&M. We're done with conference. We're done with divisions, right? It's just the 2 best in all of these now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tempted to take either A&M, Ole Miss. I'm tempted to be different. I'll go Georgia. I'll take A&M. I think A&M with their coach. I just love Elko as a coach. Anything else? Any Heisman candidates? You guys mentioned Milroe. Any other awards? Because their books are starting to put up. I don't know if you guys saw this. Doak Walker, Mackey, Bolitnikoff, which these are fun markets. These are markets I can't remember them having in the past. And anything awards-wise before we move on to a different conference? Yeah,
we already mentioned Milroe. I think the Bolitnikoff is going to be an automatic for Luther Burden because Missouri drops level of running back play. And it's not – I don't want to say it drops the level of running back play in terms of their backs aren't going to be good. They went from Schrader, who literally carried that running attack, to now having to find a 1A, a 1B, or the man in there when it could be easier just to pick up the chains when a 3-yard dig route, 5-yard dig route to Luther Burden. Luther Burden did miss some time too last season. If he can stay healthy throughout the entire season, his numbers are just going to be outrageous.
Anything for you, Crusty?
Just the Milroe Heisman here for now. I got a couple in the other conferences.
I like Trey Harris, a wide receiver, Ole Miss. He was a 1,000-yard guy last year. Yep. Kiffin likes to run up the score. The schedule is easy early. You get a bunch of Wake Forest and Middle Tennessee State and Furman, where you can pad the stats. Even your tough game early like the earliest tough game is probably, I don't know, South Carolina, LSU, teams where you could put up points. He's in that 20, 22 to 1 range. I think Harris is
Trey Harris is a good option, especially I think Juice Wells is in a non-contact practice jersey. We're literally 2 weeks before the first game, and he's not even taking contact as a wide receiver, so he's not going to take away those targets there.
All right, anything else SEC related we like?
No, but I would suggest, like, if you're betting, like, suggest taking Ole Miss's win total. I think it's 9.5. Take the over there. I was trying to, I got on the wrong side of the total with the hoax of Jackson Dart being injured. But I do think 9.5 is a pretty soft schedule. They should get to 10 wins, and you're getting even money at most shops. Even money.
And that's another one. Dart is a very trendy, very popular Heisman pick, which I get it. If you're going to win 10 plus games, you're going to put up a bunch of points. I get it. 15 to 1. I don't think it's bad, but boy, it seems like the whole world is on Jackson Dart to win the Heisman.
Yeah, Jackson Dart's Heisman price is pretty funny. I just feel like there are probably better options for around that price. Like, I mean, if you're going to take a shot at Jackson Dart 14 to 1, why don't you have someone like a Cam Ward who their defense will probably be a little bit worse in Miami, so he's going to get in a little bit more of the shootouts. Same with Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson, his rushing total I think is set around like 600 yards or something, and I think he's going to be close to 1,000-yard quarterback. That's 25 to 1 at Kansas State. So I think Dart is a trendy name, but there's other prices that are a little bit bigger that will be in more of those shootouts. Because what happens with Ole Miss's easy schedule, if the games are like wrapped up, right? Like Dart's coming out of the game. Like when they play Florida, Arkansas, Georgia Southern, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, those games could be wrapped up. And he could miss a lot. They play Furman as well. Like they have a pretty simple schedule, which doesn't always lend itself to a great Heisman campaign.
All right, we'll move on here. ACC. This has been Clemson's conference for a long time, but Florida State is sort of the new kid in town. So you shop around, you see Clemson in that plus 350 range. Florida State's obviously actually shorter in the plus 260 range. SMU is a team I know a lot of people like, which I can understand as a sleeper. Crusty, I'll kick it off with you. Who do you like in this conference? Any value in terms of the outright to win?
Oh, man. I am way too high on Miami this year. I love Cam Ward. I love Damian Martinez. I love the pieces they've added on both sides of the ball. And I may regret it, but I think I even said the U is back on Twitter the other day. And I'm sure somebody bookmarked it to let me have it when it doesn't pan out. But I'm just really high on this team. I think they have they have a couple tough games on their schedule. I think they really handle Florida in the swamp week 1. But I know a lot of people don't agree with that.
I haven't quite landed on a conference winner, right? I think that Florida State being plus 290 is a little low. And then Miami even being at the plus 400 is a little high. Maybe you could take Miami, or maybe if you wanted to be a little daring, you take Virginia Tech at 10 to 1. Virginia Tech returns the most production in college football. We saw the last team who did that was Florida State, went undefeated. Not saying I believe Virginia Tech is going to be undefeated, but that price is good. I did take Miami. I'm high on Miami, like you said, Crusties. There's no excuse for them this year. No excuse. They went out to the portal, got their quarterback, got their running back. Their offensive line is going to be one of the best in the country. Their secondary improves. Defensive line is going to be good. What's the excuse if they don't do it? I did take their win total. Over 9.5 wins was plus 135. I felt that even if they don't beat Florida, you drops the line, the win total drops to 8.5, and it's probably going to be juice like minus 130. And I still think that's good price because I think they can get there even with a loss against Florida in the swamp.
Yeah, I just can't do it with the coach. I get all the talent. I just can't do it with the coach. And that's going to be a fascinating game week 1 because whoever loses, whether it's Cristobal, whether it's Billy Napier, the loser immediately, they're already on the hot seat. The loser, that seat, you crank up the volume to another level. I can't back a guy who just doesn't know how to take a knee. I know maybe they can, get past it with the talent, and I know the talent is there. I'm excited, so excited to see that game week 1 here in a little bit, Florida versus Miami, because I do think that's a fun game. I actually got bet today. I think that's up to 3. You can find some cheap 3.5s, like minus 120 up there. So that's going to be a fun one. What about SMU? Because this is my sleeper team. I just think you always worry when a team moves up in competition, especially up front. Are they big enough? Are they strong enough? Can they handle that? But a lot of skill guys. I think RJ Maryland at tight end is a tremendous player. I actually like him for Mackey at 20-something to 1. Pretty good quarterback, pretty good defense. And you look at the schedule, they don't have to play Clemson. They don't have to play Miami. They don't play Va Tech. They get Florida State, but it's at home. They don't have to play NC State. So they do have to play Louisville on the road, and that's really their stretch that's going to define them. Home versus Florida State, at Louisville, I think back-to-back. Other than that, it's a pretty soft schedule. You guys buying SMU? And just in general, I guess I'll start with you, Brad. How do you handicap these teams moving into new conferences?
Yeah, typically history has told us that new teams moving into new conferences generally struggle in year one, but their schedule is just so simple, right? Like, their challenging game, in my opinion, is going to be that Florida State game where they welcome in Florida State. But I'm down on LSU, down on Duke, which is another road game they travel to. Virginia is always going to be what I think is going to be more of the cakewalk. Stanford will be interesting if they make a quarterback change by that time of year. That could mean they could have already packed it in. So their road games are definitely winnable, is what you kind of want to see when you're challenging them. Preston Stone, good quarterback. Did hear some rumblings that he may be injured for week 1, but luckily for them, in their week 0 match, they're a 25-point favorite. I think it's down from 27. So even if they have to go the backup route, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, and I think people are betting Nevada because there's some injury stuff with this SMU, just banged up in a couple spots, and it's big favorites. Who knows, how much they want to push these guys, things like that. Crusty, anything for you, SMU, and any sleeper in this conference for you?
I mean, I like SMU. I like the running back a lot, Jalen Knighton. He's still going to get like that rotation, I believe, where he's not going to get like the bulk of the carries, but he's really good, really explosive. I saw an interview with him talking about he worked on his balance, because there were a few times last year where he said he left like 300 yards on the field, and so I'm interested to see that. He looked really good in some of the film that I saw. I mean, I did see something with Lashley talking about Preston Stone for this week 0 matchup, and apparently he's going to give it a go, but they said Kevin Jennings is going to play. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Preston Stone's got to be the guy going forward as long as he's healthy.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to add there that you had said, Crusty, and I had lost my train of thought, so we can go ahead and move on to that one.
Do you guys buy this idea that the Clemson days of dominance are over? They don't have the generational quarterback in Watson and Lawrence. Klubnik's been a disappointment. They don't hit the transfer portal. They don't do NIL. That the times have kind of passed them by. You guys buy that or no?
I'm not buying it. First of all, it's already a tough place to play. When you have a big advantage, your home games are all winnable games. We'll see if Klubnik makes that next step, right? Tough kind of start for Klubnik, but he has the pedigree. He played well as a high school student, so it's not like he can't get better, right? He has all the tools to be better. They'll be good on the defensive line, probably good in the secondary as well. Are they going to be kind of like you said, that national championship contender every year? No, but I do think they'll be spotty in it, where there'll be years where there'll be top 5 teams that have a legitimate shot to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big K Klubnik guy. I mean, obviously, we're going to find out if he's taking a step in these first few weeks, because their schedule is not doing them any favors. I mean, Georgia, and then, I mean, luckily they get to play App State at home, so they're not going there. And then even NC State, I mean, I've seen a lot of people high on them. Yep. I'm not sure that I'm willing to jump on the NC State wagon just yet, but I think Grayson McCall might struggle a bit. But I mean, Clemson, I think, has a good year. I'm not sure that Klubnik is the guy. I'm not sold on it.
Yeah, he killed me. I had him in that bowl game. I think he first played against Tennessee a couple years ago, and I couldn't believe how bad he was. Yeah, and I haven't seen the improvement. I mean, he was sold to us as the next guy in line. It was really DJU was the next guy. I remember when Lawrence, I think, got COVID a few years ago.
They ran DJU out of town for Klubnik.
They did, and DJU's bounced around since then. But boy, I've been disappointed with Klubnik big time. Yeah. And I just don't know. Like, if you're not hitting the portal, though, you're not playing the NIL game, you could not like it as fans or whatever, this college free agency. But if you're a coach who's just going to just not get involved with it, I just feel like that's giving your team a disadvantage.
Yep. Yeah, adapt or die is the motto, right? Yeah. If you're not going to adapt, you're going to die, and they are refusing to adapt. So eventually it'll catch up to them because all the other teams are catching up.
And we've seen older coaches take the other approach where say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Saban, yep. I mean, Saban almost won a national championship. He said, you know what? I'm done with this. These guys, and I think he went on record as a quote saying, hey, these guys care more about getting paid than actually winning. I can't, my way doesn't work anymore. I'm just going to go do College Game Day. We've seen Jay Wright, Coach K, some of these older coaches just say, you know what? I don't want to, I can't keep re-recruiting my team every year. This is just not worth it for me. This is just, I'm going to just go on my way here. So
yeah,
I don't know.
what was pretty interesting about what Saban was saying too was he said that the season just ended and he has guys on there on his own team talking about how much are you going to pay me? Guys who weren't even playing meaningful minutes. Like that's got to be tough. And a guy like Dabo, who his NIL is walking God's name, image, and likeness. How is he going to keep that kind of that conversation, that banter down? He's going to have to recruit a specific player and those guys who just want to go to Clemson to play underneath him.
Yep. No, totally agree. I understand the NC State love too, just because I do think that's a good coaching staff with, Doran and Gibson's a good defensive coordinator. You at least get a solidified presence at quarterback, even though if McCall's not a superstar, he's at least brings some credibility to the position, and they just seem to always, do pretty well. So I get the NC State love. I don't know. Anybody else that we haven't discussed that you think's worth mentioning here before we move on to awards and some other conferences?
No, I don't think it's going to be that many teams that are kind of viable to win this year. I'm not obviously I'm not high on Georgia Tech. I think it's funny that they took a lot of money this for week 0, but
still getting money. We're down to 10 now. It's just crazy.
There's been some buyback now. Some buyback up to 10.5.
Yeah, I'm seeing 10. It seems that every time it gets to 10, it gets bought back up. DraftKings still has a 10. My goodness, boy, people are going to have some nice middles if it gets to 9.5 because 10 is a pretty key number. So the people that were taking 13, 11, 12, 11.5, you could slice off some nice, minus 9.5 and sit there with a fat middle on Saturday. Let's wrap up the ACC awards, best bets for the conference, just in general. Crusty, what's your best bet here?
I locked in Miami to win the ACC like a month ago. I'm rolling with that. The U is back.
My best bet, Miami over 9.5 wins. Very favorable schedule here. If you look at it, the obvious danger spots, right, is when you play week 1 and then you welcome in Florida State. Outside of that, I don't see them having much trouble. Maybe that's a tough game to end the season at Syracuse, but for me, this should be a 10-win team. If they're not 10 wins with the amount of talent they brought in, it's time to start looking at a replacement as head coach.
I want to give out SMU, but I'm only seeing like 11-1 at DraftKings. I don't know that I can give out 11-1. 11-1 is short. I do think they're a sleeper, but boy, 11-1, that's certainly been adjusted. I don't mind NC State at plus 650. I think it's a good coaching staff. I think it's a decent quarterback. I think NC State has a good shot to play for the title. Anything else before we move on?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I thought it was funny. Cam Ward was pretty good price around the summer at the 25-1 to win the Heisman. But not at 14.
Agreed. All right, we'll move on here. The Big Ten. It is now or never for Ryan Day, unless they win a national championship. He's got to do one of two things. One of two things: beat Michigan or win a national champion. If you go for 2, man, you or I or one of us is going to have a better chance of coaching Ohio State than Ryan Day next year. That being said, they're the favorite. A lot of people think they're the best team in the country. Brad, general thoughts here, Ohio State, and anything else in the Big Ten, big picture?
Yeah, I went ahead and I bet Ohio State to win the conference because the money came in so heavily on Oregon that I was like, I have to bet this. I don't want to take Oregon at 2-1. I had fair price at Oregon closer to 3-1. Ohio State, it's funny. I've heard a lot of people say this, and I agree that Will Howard only needs to not be bad. A lot was asked of McCord, and they kind of had the same sentiment, right? Like, don't go out there and be bad. Yes, he went out in Notre Dame and led his team to a comeback victory, but he was pretty remarkably bad in a lot of really high pressure situations. I think there's to be a big difference. Like a lot of talk about how Will Howard was ran out of town for Avery Johnson, and I think Will Howard's going to be a pretty solid quarterback in this system. Why? Because he doesn't have to be the best player on the team. He was asked for that situation a lot at Kansas State. But bringing in Chip Kelly, having a 2-headed monster and really good running backs in Judkins and Travion Henderson, a wide receiver core that any quarterback would want to throw to, good offensive line, good secondary, but secondary that probably going to have an All-American or 2 on them. Okay, probably have 2 All-Americans for sure. And then a D-line that's really good. What's going to be their excuse, right? Like, they do play that game in Eugene, obviously tough game, but they have been here. They have been the kings of the Big Ten. It's not like this is new territory where they have to come to a new conference like Oregon does and kind of prove themselves. So if they don't win their conference, I I think it's gonna be pretty disappointing. I would have to think a little bit harder on the matchup between Oregon and Ohio State from an individual standpoint at the title game. But from just a big spectrum picture, big picture look, I like Ohio State to win.
Crusty, anything for you?
For me in this one, I actually did not go with Ohio State or Oregon. I took a little bit on Penn State. I don't love Drew Aller at all, man. I can't stand this guy. But, like, look at their schedule, okay? You get past the weird game at Morgantown because we all know it's weird to go play at Morgantown. Like, they have to beat West Virginia. But beyond that, you got no Oregon. I mean, you pretty much no Iowa. I mean, so what's the toughest game after that? At Wisconsin? Besides the Ohio State game?
Like, you get Ohio State at home, I believe, too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My problem with Penn State, sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, you're all good.
It's just they always have a great schedule set up, and then they lose the two games, the Michigan and the Ohio State, and then they're out of the conversation. Can they get over that hump this year? And why do you like them to get over that hump?
Like I said, I think it just really comes down to the schedule because I mean the only team they're playing is Ohio State of the two that they can't beat. So theoretically, if they lose one or two losses, I mean they could be up in the top and up in the conversation and get into the Big Ten championship potentially. I mean, you got Oregon and Ohio State have to play each other, so one of them's getting lost right there. I mean, 2-loss team, I think they got a shot.
I will say this: I took their win total over like beginning of summer when schedules were announced, and it is nasty now, like minus 170.
To the over, you mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
well, they have a reputation, rightfully so. They beat the teams they are supposed to beat. They don't really beat anybody else, but they beat the teams they're supposed to beat. So if they, to Krusty's point, if they do that, they're in good shape with the 12-team playoff, and they can finally not get over the hump, but yeah, I guess get over the hump, get in the playoff, and that would obviously be a good year. Why is Ohio State better than Oregon? Are we at the point where Lanning has to kind of not put up or shut up because it's only year 3, but he never seems to win the big game. You get the sense Lanning's maybe been a little bit overrated. Like when Alabama's looking for coaches, we want Lanning. Well, you know what? DeBoer's beat him a bunch of times. So I don't know. Where are you guys here with Oregon?
I think that it's so tough, right? Like with Oregon, because we know they're going to be all right. Like we know they're going to beat everyone they should. It's just all about what do they do when they get to the tough games. They bring in Evan Stewart. Trayshawn Holden is in his second year with the team. Good. They got Tez Johnson back, and they have the best quarterback in probably all of college football in Dylan Gabriel. My problem is like, when has Dylan Gabriel won a massive game? And this is coming from a UCF guy, right? Like when has Dan Lanning won a massive game? There's so much expectation around this team. And then even the secondary bring in 3 absolute studs, 4 studs actually, to kind of help this secondary. And then the best corner in the available portal in Jabbar Muhammad. A lot of really good pieces, but can they put it together? Right. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. I haven't seen Dan Lanning win the big game yet. At 2-1 for a coach who seemingly loses every big game, that's a real short price.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're comparing the two, Ohio State and Oregon, I mean, the offenses, in my opinion, are about the same in terms of talent. Yeah, both are loaded offensively. But I think the edge for me is the Ohio State defense. I think they're just better. I think when it comes time to play head-to-head, you're going to see that. You're going to see the better defense kind of, make Gabriel struggle a little bit. He's going to have a harder time. And I think that ultimately is the difference. Ohio State should be able to run the ball on pretty much everybody with the running backs they have in their offensive line. So, I mean, in games like that, in those big games, it makes a big difference.
That is going to be just an awesome game, October 12th in Oregon. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. Yeah, baseball.
I'm trying to get out there. I'm trying so hard to get out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Where are we at with Michigan? To me, it'd be under or nothing. I know the coach filled in last year, but it's different. Pinch hitting for a game when Harbaugh's still running the team. They lost so much of their offense. They'll still be pretty good on defense, but boy, I could only look to the under here. Brad, where are you at here with the Wolverines?
The Michigan line has come down. It's finally got to the 8.5s. It was 9.5 for a very long time. I think for me, it's under a bust. If you take them. I'm not as high as on Edwards as everyone else is. Like Blake Corum was an absolute stud. Then losing JJ McCarthy, a lot of question marks. And then defensively, they'll be solid, right? Like, but they still lost a little bit of talent. I do think there's going to be a little bit of hangover, national championship hangover, and also scandal hangover. Like that stuff could negatively impact your program where you're dealing with this still bleeding into the season. So if they have a struggle season, kind of like LSU did after the Joe Burrow years, it's understandable to have that kind of bounce back when you lose the talent, you lose your coach, and now you're dealing with drama.
Yeah, that being said, 8.5 is getting low. One thing, I mean, a win in college football is all the difference in the world. You're talking, I like under 9.5. Well, it's 8.5. You still like it? I mean, my goodness, you're late to the party if you're taking the under 8.5. I will say that. Where are you out here with Michigan, Crust?
Yeah, I mean, same kind of sentiments here. I mean, it's under a bust. I think we did miss the number at 9.5 though, so we're kind of out of luck at this point. But I don't see how they replace everything they lost. For me, it's just there's too much gone. I mean, it's really that simple. You're not gonna be able to replace all that production. Like Brad was saying about Donovan Edwards, I don't think he's that good. I've seen some people talking about the Heisman for him. I don't think he's that good. He hasn't had to be an every down guy except for the 1 year when Corum got hurt. Like, I'm not there. I don't know.
I think we also forget too, like, Donovan Edwards wasn't even that great last season. Like, he wasn't even good in the times he was asked for. Maybe he had 2 good games all season, and we're acting like this man just going to step in and replace the production of Corum. Good offensive line, always a good offensive line, always in the running for offensive line of the year, but it's just a lot to ask.
All right, final thoughts, best bets, awards, take it whatever direction you want to go. I'll start with you, Crusty.
I mean, it's kind of chalky, but Judkins to win the Doak. He's going to split carries with Henderson, so I mean that could probably hurts him a little bit, but I still think even in limited carries, he's going to have a monster year.
That's fair. I actually don't hate that. Travion Henderson also is super banged up. I feel like every week I'm texting my Ohio State friends, like, is Henderson going to play this week? I think he's only played 9 games back-to-back seasons. I don't have a bet that I love in this. I'll be honest with you.
I will go season win total. Illinois under 5.5 wins. I just don't think they get to 6 with that schedule. Was torn between that and Michigan State under 5 wins because I like Jonathan Smith as a coach. I just don't know how much talent is there. I even think Florida Atlantic week 0. I think it's week 1. This whole extra week between NFL preseason, this whole thing is like just screwing me up. Like, when does this start? Because it's it's just kind of different than what it used to be the last couple of years. But I'll go Illinois under 5.5 wins. I just think that's a tough program to win at. I think they were going in the right direction for a couple years ago, but I don't know that they can get to 6 with that schedule.
I do think it's kind of funny that Will Howard is 14-1 to win the Heisman.
The numbers stink. I mean, the numbers, there's just too many eyeballs on the numbers. It used to be even 3, 4, 5 years. Like, Burrow won this award at 200-1 5 years ago. There's just a lot of shows like this. There's gambling podcasts. There's people on Twitter. Like, betting's legal everywhere, where the mistakes just don't last long. Like,
I got Smith at 150-1 when he won the Heisman.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that stuff. It's Duggan
those
almost
days are
won it,
gone.
and he was 100-1 a couple years ago, maybe even higher. But for the most part, like, anybody that has a chance, like, who's the Tennessee quarterback was like, 20-1. Like, that guy would have been 80-1 a couple years ago. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on. Big 12, final conference here preview. Wide open conference. Utah's the short shot, but boy, you could talk me into the ball bouncing a certain way where 6, 7, 8 different teams are at least in a conference title game, if nothing else. Crusty, I'll start with you. Is it Utah? Is it somebody else? What are your big picture thoughts of this conference?
I love Kansas, and it's 100% on Jalen Daniels being healthy. But, man, I love their offense. They're returning basically like all of their weapons. The offense is not the issue. The defense is always going to be the problem. But I just don't think that this conference outside of, like, really Utah, I mean, is that good. I mean, Kansas State, I think they'll be good. But other than those 2 teams, I think Kansas is, right up there with them, in my opinion.
Don't hate the price on Kansas. I do get worried Jalen Daniels as well, another quarterback who's consistently banged up. His play style kind of lends itself to that. I don't know if I really have a sleeper. Maybe I would tickle UCF a little bit.
That's my team.
KJ Jefferson, absolute stud. And we've heard Gus Malzahn talk about the comparisons between him and Cam Newton, which is a really big praise. Two really good running backs there. Wide receiver core is good. My question for UCF, excuse me, you saw the homerage coming out, is are they going to improve defensively? And year one of Malzahn, it was the excuses about not tackling. And then I think each year we get into this, guys need to be tougher. Well, what is the excuse? Oh, it's our first year in the Big 12. It's this, it's that. What's going to be the excuse this year? They need to be a better defensive unit. Schedule's okay. It's kind of tough. I think they would prefer an easier schedule because they have to play at the Swamp at Iowa State. It's just tough at West Virginia. We'll see. 9-1. If I were being realistic, I'd like the price on Kansas a little bit better. Lance Leipold's a good coach, but
Awesome
Jalen
coach.
Daniels scares me, dude. Durability is horrible.
Scares me, and they don't have Bean was a good backup last year. I don't think Ballard is that level of backup, and I don't like the fact that they're not going to have a home field this year because they're renovating their campus stadium, and it's going to be a lot of games at like the soccer stadium or Arrowhead where the Chiefs play. That being said, if Daniels is healthy, I see the upside with the coach and the quarterback, that combo of hey, you get to a title game and you're taking a fat number and you're in and have a good wiggle room. This is a conference where you can talk me into a lot. You could talk me into Oak State. You could talk me into UCF, obviously Utah. Iowa State has the makings, I think. So I think this is wide open. This is certainly the most.
I think Iowa State is good too, but
yeah.
I think their number was a little bit bigger. 9-1 on Iowa State seems short.
Yeah, I think this is one where if we were doing this show May, June, July, whatever, these numbers would be longer. I think the word has kind of gotten out that this conference is wide open. All these longer shots have come down. Like Oak State was 14-1. UCF was longer. All of these numbers were a little bit longer, and the word's just gotten out. Hey, anyone can kind of win it. I wouldn't take Kansas State plus 380. I like that coach, but boy, them at 9.5, expecting they've gone over their win total. They've overachieved, but they've been lined at 5, 6. Now you're expecting them to win 10 to go over their total. I can't quite get there. I don't think Arizona, even though the coach quarterback combo is good with McMillan and Fafita, I don't know that they have enough of the rest of the team there. So, and then I think once you get to Texas Tech, West Virginia, TCU, it's probably all dead money at that point. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree. I don't know.
So you're not betting on Colorado?
All right, I was going to save it. That's my best bet here is the under. I don't think they'll lose to North Dakota State, but my goodness, if they get off to an 0-1 or a 1-2 start, can you imagine the news cycle if they lose that first game, Thursday night standalone game? They're already dismissing coaches, players transferring out. I can promise you this: if it doesn't go well, it's going to be somebody's fault. It's not going to be Deion's fault, and it's not going to be his kid's fault either. By the way, it's going to be somebody not last name Sanders, and that's just me. I don't like situations like that. I don't think Deion's a foxhole guy. I think if it goes poorly, it could really go poorly here. And plus, if they're 4-6 or something, 5 and whatever, does Shedeur play the rest of the season, or does Deion say, "Hey, I'm going to sit you. You're getting ready for the draft. You're going to be a top 3, top 5 pick. No reason to play here. We're not going to a bowl."
I think he plays them because I don't think he's for sure going to be a top 5 pick, especially if they don't have success, right? I think a lot of the success is going to lay on his shoulders. I do think they're going to be pretty bad.
Tough schedule.
Offensive line was bad. They kind of got some guys in the portal, but it doesn't matter if you're getting guys in the portal if they're not dogs, right? Running backs aren't great. I think they did get Will Shepherd from Vanderbilt, which was pretty big as wide receiver.
Lost some guys in the portal too, right? That they weren't expecting to lose.
Lost some secondary guys, lost some offensive linemen. I didn't think the offensive linemen mattered, but the secondary did matter. Man, it's gonna be just one of those things where they're gonna be fun to watch, but it's gonna be a lot of them in shootouts. And I heard someone saying, and I thought it was pretty good. When you're betting futures in college football, you don't want to be betting on the team that's always getting in shootouts because there's gonna be times where you're just on the wrong side of a shootout, and that's what Colorado is. There's just gonna be too much uncertainty about whether they can be good enough defensively to not give up 35 points and have to score 37 to win, 36 to win.
Crusty, anything you want to jump in? Teams you're high on, low on, anything?
No, I mean, I've been talking about fading Colorado since for months, and I mean, I actually do think North Dakota State can beat them. I probably put a little bit on it, but it's just one of those things where when you saw the schedule come out of all the FCS teams, why would they agree to play that game? Why would Colorado agree to have them come there? Because that's, I mean, you're talking about a top 2 team in the FCS. Like, go play Howard or something. Go play an actual tune-up game. This isn't a tune-up game. This isn't the get-right game. This is week 1, week 0, week 1, and you're playing a team who's a legitimate contender in the FCS. So,
yeah, and it sounds like they're down from like the level they've been at in past years. North Dakota State. Not that I'm an expert on that program or anything, but I've heard that multiple times from people I trust. And boy, here's the other thing too. If you're Colorado, you get everybody's best shot because you don't shut up. Everyone knows, hey, I'm going to be on national TV. Colorado talks like, so you're not going to catch anybody surprised. You're not going to catch anybody that's going to go into Colorado and kind of sleepwalk through the game or take it for granted. You're going to get everyone's best punch, and that lends itself to an under too.
I mean, even just looking at their schedule, I mean, realistically, I mean, they could be have 1 win after the first 5 weeks. I mean,
no layups, no games they absolutely can't win either. If you want to make the case for them, you say, hey, they might have 2 top 5 picks, top 10 picks in Hunter and Sanders. The schedule there's a lot of coin flip games, but I don't know. Like Nebraska's a tough game. Even Colorado State, like that was a game they could have lost last year. They could lose that game this year. Like there's
rivalry games are always tough.
UCF on the road. I mean, it's just a brutal schedule. I mean,
and I think Deion Sanders kind of, or whenever the Sanders misspoke when they said this, that they're everyone's big game. It's not that they're everyone's big game. It's just they want to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Any awards, any futures you guys would recommend for this conference?
I didn't take anything for this conference.
Yeah,
if I gave you $100 free bet right now, odds to win the Big 12, who would you go with?
UCF, $100 free bet, 9-1. I'll take that.
I would agree.
Maybe Travis Hunter receiving yards is okay. I just don't know what, like, I wish I had a line for Will Shepherd, right? Like I want to see what the books are projecting him. They're gonna be passing a ton, right? Yeah. So that's Will Shepherd, Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter. Who's the 4th guy on that wide receiver group? Drawing a blank on his name. But it's regardless. It's just a lot of mouths to feed. So if they project that, we'd have to imagine Will Shepherd's going to be 850, I would imagine, and then Jimmy Horn would probably be 750. That's a lot of passing yards.
Yeah, well, I think like Shador's was like 3,200 or something like that. His passing prop, if I saw it correctly.
That makes sense. What did he pass for? Like almost 4,000.
I would only go under just because behind a bad offensive line he can get hurt. And I know Brad disagrees, but there is a possibility. Hey, Deion just shuts him down. Like get ready for the draft, that kind of thing. That's always that's like there's just so many ways to win an under compared to an over.
It's actually come down a lot. It's actually at 3,050 right now. It's come down like 200 yards.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, it makes sense. I projected the 3 receivers I said we're gonna catch for about 2,500 yards, 2,400 yards. But then you start thinking about like who else is going to be catching. Tight ends probably account for another 500. That's like about 3,000. So that makes sense.
Before we wrap, we really haven't talked about the favorite here, Utah. A lot of injuries last year. It was constantly, when is Cam Rising going to play? Is he going to play? He never ended up playing. I mean, it's scary going against this team. They usually overachieve it, except for last year. Last year was kind of a throwaway year. Where are you guys at with Utah?
You can take this one first.
I mean, obviously at home, they're a really good team, and we all know that, and they're probably going to be undefeated at home. I looked at their schedule, and I mean, it's a very winnable schedule in my opinion. There was no games that really stuck out to me where I'm like, ooh, they're going to struggle there. I always hate going with the chalk, but I feel like they're going to be in this conference championship game. It's just a matter of who they're going to be playing.
Yeah, I think having such a good squad and a good home field advantage is always going to be great, right? I think they need to get more production out of their running back room. Cam Rising is a beast. Dude's been in college for 45 years. He's been in college so long he has gray hairs, so he could probably be the coach at this point. It's really nice to have someone like that under center and what I would consider one of the weaker of the conferences now. Be able to check out a lot of stuff. They did bring in Dorian Singer from USC, Arizona. So that's another weapon. I'm just trying to think, like, running back room's not great. Receiver core's not great. Like, Dorian Singer is obviously going to be slotted in as the one. Maybe, but the price is just too short. Like, I would rather just take a 9-1, a 10-1 shot and just beat Utah in the title game, which is not an easy thing. Whittingham's such a good coach, but just short. Especially if Rising's coming off, what is he coming off, an ACL? Like, that thing
like hurt forever.
Yeah,
he's had a lot of time to repair. I mean, that was New Year's Day 2020. So he's had a good, 16 months to get right here. So if he's ever going to be good from it, it's going to be now. All right, well, I guess we'll wrap on that. Anything awards, or are we good to go?
Yeah, I didn't take anything awards in that game, so.
Yeah, nothing for me in that one.
No, I'll best bet. How about Houston? How about Houston under? The 4.5 is now moved to 4. Is that team? You guys have any thoughts on Houston? I know that's a team a lot of people think they have no chance to beat and get to 5. At most, they get to 4 wins and you push, but I think that might still be an under.
I have to look at their schedule again.
I'll say I would pull it up real fast.
4.5. Tough.
Yeah, 4.5 is juice to the under, and 4 is more flat.
Like a 4 points favorite week 0. I don't even know. Week 1 against UNLV. Then they probably be close against Rice. Cincinnati, wow. Then at TCU, then 4 straight ranked games. Yeah, 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah, that's a tough schedule now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
UNLV, at Oklahoma, Rice, at Cincy, Iowa State, at TCU, at Kansas, Utah, Kansas State, at Arizona, Baylor, and then at BYU. I like under there.
I feel like, I don't know what the spread is, but this UNLV game, but I feel like if it's anywhere close,
it's a pick 'em.
Like 1.5, 2, maybe 3.
Pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em.
Opened at 3, now down to a pick 'em. Yeah. I feel like that game's gonna be way closer than 3 points is a lot.
Yeah, UNLV's got a good coach too.
Yeah.
All right, boys, this was fun. Hopefully, we'll do this again soon or during the season. Crusty K's, Brad Thomas, I am Will. We will we'll see you as the season goes along. Appreciate you guys listening. See you next time.